Let's talk about money. How do you make money as an artist in 2025 and beyond? And I'm going to break down a handful of different ways that you can go about doing it. Some are faster, some are shorter, and just different ways for you to think about how to make money being an artist. My name is Jake Isham. I'm a filmmaker and a photographer, and I've been doing this for the last 15 years, getting paid for it, and I've not worked a single day job, and I've supported myself always as an artist. I made notes on this because there's so many different ways to think about making money as an artist, and I wanted to make sure I got as many of them down as possible. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments, because we're here to help each other succeed as artists and to make living as artists. This is a long-term play, but it definitely needs to be stated, in my opinion, first. This is the traditional way of making money as an artist. These are, you could say, all of whatever field you're in has a traditional way. So for me as a filmmaker, that's, selling my film or a television show and getting, into the studio system, getting a movie on Netflix, getting a television show on HBO or on Hulu, etc. Right? This is the traditional way. As an artist, it's getting into galleries or prestigious shows. As a musician or as a singer, it could be getting a record deal. These are the traditional ways, and they're not to be negated, and they're not to be kind of brushed off as like, oh, I don't want to do that, because it very much still works. It still very much is a thing, but it just comes with a lot of caveats. One, it's a lot harder to do it. All of it's going to be hard, but a lot of the things that people get attention to is you kind of sell your soul. It becomes a lot of committee when it comes to the traditional way, where you don't have as much independence, but you get a lot of push behind, or you can get a lot of help and push, and it becomes, there's a notoriety thing with like, oh, I'm signed with this record deal. I have a movie on Netflix. It's a way of, you could say, being like verified without being verified. It allows that kind of endorsement as an artist of like, oh, I made it. But it's far from the only way to actually make it as an artist, because you should look at what is your goal. Do you want to be making a certain amount of money? Do you want to be able to reach a certain amount of people? And that's where I'm going to go into this whole second new wave of making a living as an artist. I call it the modern way, the new way. There's a lot of, you could call it 100 different ways, but basically this is the idea of building your own audience, building your own actual fans who will reach you directly and not through you could say through an intermediary of a record label, a Netflix, a this, a that, a gallery. Is like you're going directly to the fans. And most of the time, it's pretty much done through social media these days. That is the way to do it. That's why people say, that's why you would want to build a following. It's not to just have the verification of like, oh, I have 1 million followers. Like, screw that. The whole point of building a following is that these are the people being impacted by your art. That's why you're doing it. Don't look at it at any other way besides these are people who love your art. Those are the fans you want. Don't worry about the number. Worry about the people who are like, oh my God, your song, your dance, your movie, your music, whatever, changed my life. Or, oh my God, I love this. This was amazing. I can't wait to share it with a friend. Those are the following you want. That's why you build a following. As you build a following, or once you've built a following, you can monetize it in many different ways. By just viewing it, these social media platforms pay you. YouTube, Meta does, not big, but Meta does. TikTok did or does. I don't know if it's being banned. I'm filming this before the ban, so we'll see. But Twitter is even paying out big money these days. I had a friend just tell me he made $90,000 in a month from Twitter. Like, are you kidding me? That's wild. So there's so much money to be made out there on these social media platforms. You just have to do it by putting out your art to start with. And obviously you can get better and better, but that's a way to start. Now, from there, once you have a following, you can also do brand deals. So if there's something that makes sense, that feels cohesive with your brand, Well, you have a following, so you're advertising. Think of it the same exact way as Kevin Hart doing an ad, or any of the big celebrities that that we know and love do traditional commercials. It's the same thing, but you're just doing a commercial on your social media platform for this brand. So pick the brands that you want to stand behind, that not are going to just pay you the most money, but that you're willing to stand behind. Look at the entire debacle with Honey. Look at the debacle with FTX. It's just, the list goes on with these brands. So pick a brand that you can actually stand behind. Perfect segue to that is you can build your own brand. For example, if you're a filmmaker, come out with a gizmo, a gadget that makes sense. Jacob Owens is a fantastic filmmaker who did that exact same thing. If you're a painter, come out with a paint line. There's a friend of mine, Mixed Media Girl, who has an entire line of paints and different types of painting materials that makes sense. She makes painting content. She then now sells paints. Next with that is that you can build a subscription service. Basically building out services where people can get more and more access to you or your art that's valuable to them. Not just like, oh, I'm going to squeeze out money from my fans, but it's like, what would you pay for as a fan? What would you actually pay $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, $100 a month, $1,000 a month from your artist? Would that be, tickets? Would that be clothes? Would it be merch? Different collectibles? There's so many different things. Pre-access to their art, discounts to their art, depending on it. There's so many ways to kind of, you could say, skin the cat, is to, to get a piece of the pie. You have to just kind of be a little bit creative on how to do this. The lens that I always try to look at it is like, what would I pay for? What would I be willing, and what would it be worth to me? And also ask your fans, ask your following on social media, ask your friends, what's valuable to them? What would they be willing to pay, and what would they be willing to pay for? And finally, which we see a lot with artists, is education. Is that we've gotten to a level where it's like, oh yeah, this is how we do it. But like, so many people admire us and like admire artists, and they want to learn how to do it just like them. That's why masterclass is so big, is because we get insight into people's processes that you might not get anywhere else. So I am a fan of courses, but but you have to, again, make it really good. Make it as good, if not better than your art. Really get a great product so it doesn't devalue your brand. These are just a handful of ways that you can monetize building a following, and that you're actually bringing your art. As you do that, you can then go kind of meld it with the traditional. Look at Mr. Beast, who just did a massive, massive show on Amazon Prime. You see different artists that are constantly going back and forth between social media and that. Like T-Pain is now a massive streamer. He supposedly makes more money streaming than he does as a musician. So you have to just look at, what do you love to do? And really, you could just communicate to friends and fans and build an audience around you as an artist. Finally, these are for people who are like, dude, I don't care about the fame. I don't care about building a following. I don't want to do any of that, but I want to work as an artist. Well, the simple way of doing it is find a company that hires that type of artist, whether it be as a freelancer or a contractor or in-house. I have a friend who used to be a paralegal, but he always loved photography, and that's what he wanted to do for a living. He worked freelance, started getting better and better at his craft, and eventually he got an in with a marketing company and worked underneath a photographer who was there. That photographer then ended up moving on, and he became the head photographer there, shooting there for a number of years, and then eventually left and now has a great career as a freelancer, making great money, but doing what he loves. I don't know if he's got bigger aspirations to have art in galleries or to do this or do that, but he's making money as a photographer now, not as a paralegal. So there's so many different ways you could do this. You could, work at a club as a dancer. You could put your art in restaurants or bars and have them either get paid to do that or have them on sale where you don't have to worry about the galleries and whatnot. So I would look at different ways that, you can work as an artist that don't require you to build a following. It'd be working for another company and getting a quote unquote 9 to 5, but at least doing what you want to be doing rather than doing what you don't want to be doing. In short, though, you need to be making art. You need to be putting it out there because regardless of any of these 3 paths, you have to unfortunately prove yourself first and then you get paid. That's the way it works as an artist. So there's one thing I can leave you with. It is make more art and put it out there because that's the way you're going to monetize yourself as an artist. Wish you the best of luck. If you need any help, let me know.